to the audio podcast or download today's program at afr.net. You can also read Brian Fisher's columns at onenewsnow.com. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to email us anytime at focalpoint@afr.net. Focalpoint@afr.net.
Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point, American Family Radio Talk Network. Focal Point, the home of muscular Christianity on conservative talk radio. My name is Brian Fisher, congenial, convivial, and amiable as always. Honored and pleased to welcome to our decision maker line Senator Rick Santorum, former senator from the state of Pennsylvania, former candidate for the presidency, and now the CEO of Echolite Productions, a film company. Senator Santorum, welcome to Focal Point with Brian Fisher.
Hey, Brian. Thank you for having me on.
Great to have you with us, Senator. And I want to begin first. I want to get to this new movie that your company is releasing on September 1 in conjunction with American Family Studios. Before we get to that, I want to talk about this Mississippi Senate primary between Senator Chris McDaniel, State Senator Chris McDaniel, and the incumbent Senator Thad Cochran. And Senator Santorum, you felt strongly enough about this race that you've actually journeyed to Mississippi in order to weigh in on behalf of Senator Chris McDaniel. So tell us from your perspective why you consider this race so important and why you've thrown your weight behind Senator McDaniel.
Well, not just once, but twice. I came to Mississippi down to the Gulf Coast on, I guess, about 4 or 5 days before the actual primary, and then was just there this past week up in Madison, outside of Jackson. So I've made a couple of trips up there because this race has turned into, I think, a very important race for not just Mississippi, but for the country. We have someone who is a strong conviction conservative, someone who's very accomplished. The one thing that impressed me most about Chris McDaniel is, unlike a lot of, quote, conservative or, quote, Tea Party candidates, this is someone with a track record. This is someone who's actually accomplished things, who's put his conservatism in action and has been effective in fighting the establishment in Mississippi politics. And he went out there and made a difference in the state legislature, and I think he is more than prepared. I mean, he's suffered a big time campaign against him with dirty tricks and all, and he's come out very, very strong, and again, I think has really proven his mettle as a candidate. So from my perspective, given what they were throwing at him, I just felt it was important to come in there and try to remind people what the importance of this race is for the country right now, as well as for the future of Mississippi.
Well, one of the things I think that's impressed a lot of people, drawn a lot of people toward Senator McDaniel, is the kind of courage and moxie that he showed as a state senator, took on Governor Haley Barbour, who is a political institution in the state of Mississippi on eminent domain. He worked on some very effective religious liberty legislation. So again, it seems that he's demonstrated, at least to the people of Mississippi, that he's not going to back away from a fight. He's willing to take on the GOP establishment. And I think a lot of people in Mississippi are saying, hey, maybe that's what we need in D.C.
Well, it's clearly a difference. And I served with Senator Cochran. He's a fine man and obviously served Mississippi very well for 42 years. But Chris has the energy. He understands the different environment this country is in right now. And that we have to be able to have folks who can go out there and really fight for limited government and begin to move the center of the debate to a place where we can actually start reducing the size and scale of government. And that's just going to take a whole new approach. And Chris has that approach. He's exceptionally bright. He's very well spoken. He's very well schooled on the issues. And this is a guy who's really ready for prime time and to make a real difference from day one in Washington.
One last thing before we turn our attention to the movie from Echolite Studios. I've got an article in front of me from the New York Times talking about how Senator McDaniel is relying on Tea Party energy. We saw this huge upset, Dave Bratt in Virginia upsetting Eric Cantor. And, we've had people writing obituaries for the Tea Party movement now for years. And it seems to me, Senator Santorum, like the Tea Party is alive and well as a movement.
Well, I wouldn't underestimate Chris McDaniel's impact on the Virginia race. I think the fact that he was able to win, although not win outright, but win in Mississippi was really the first blow for the Tea Party. Was the one that put the Tea Party back on the map, because they had just suffered defeats in Kentucky, and a few other states. And you're right, the obituary was being written, and Chris won this race. Again, didn't win with 50%, but won. And I think that reignited the energy. And so I think the people of Mississippi, frankly, get an assist for the race in Virginia, and now they can finish it off. And the impact of this race could be felt in several other states across the country right now, where there are similar races going on.
Well, let's turn our attention for the moment to this new film. You are the CEO of Echo Light Studios, and your studio, in conjunction with American Family Studios, getting ready to release a brand new movie entitled One Generation Away, The Erosion of Religious Liberty. And Rob, I think we'll save the trailer maybe for after the break, because I don't want to take any time away from Senator Santorum. And tell us a little bit about this movie. It's going to be released on September 1. Tell us why Echo Light Studios, under your leadership, got behind this project. What's the message of this movie, and why is it important for Americans to see it?
Well, the reason we got behind the project is because it is important. It's probably the most important issue for the church today. There is a movement in this country to constrict religious liberty to freedom of worship, which is what you can do inside your church. And that once you walk outside the doors of the church, you become at the whim of the government to tell you what you can believe or what you can't believe. And that should frighten everybody. But in fact, you actually hear some members of the Obama administration, particularly in the State Department, who no longer use the term freedom of religion. They use the term freedom of worship. And so you see it with, obviously, the one that got the most attention is Obamacare and the religious liberty fights there, that whether we're going to force people to buy contraceptions or abortifacients as part of their insurance plan. The Hobby Lobby case, which will be decided here shortly, and you see situations with bakers and florists and photographers who are now being forced to either provide services for same-sex weddings, or get fined, lose their business. In the case of Colorado, there was a Colorado case just recently where someone had to go to re-education camp, if you will. And the amazing thing is, in Colorado, gay marriage isn't even legal. So it's the impact of what's going on in the popular culture, whether it's Obamacare or the same-sex marriage issue, or those who would like to see religion taken out of the public square and it's already been taken out of our schools. It's pretty much been taken out of politics. Now they want to take it out of everything else, business and everything else. And the church can sit there and say, well, they're leaving me alone and I'm okay. But if we've learned anything from history, that is a very foolish place to be. And so we thought it was important as a movie studio, and we're honored to work with you folks at the American Family Association to put together a documentary that lays out not just all of these cases, and we go through a bunch of different cases, and you hear our side of the argument. But we thought it was very, very important to put people on the other side of the argument, and the Peter Singers from Princeton, and the Barry Lynn's from People from the American Way, and the Southern Poverty Law Center, and Freedom from Religion, and get all of those people on the record, and so everybody in the church can see, here's what they do. Here's who they're coming after. Here's what they want to accomplish, and here's how they think they're going to do it. And they are all very, very clear. They have no intention of stopping where they are right now. They have every intention of making people conform to their value structure, not the value structure of the church.
You know, the subtitle of this movie, talking here with Senator Rick Santorum, former presidential candidate, now CEO of Ecolite Studios. And Senator, the subtitle of this movie is The Erosion of Religious Liberty. The title of it, above the fold, is One Generation Away. Where did that title come from, and what's the significance? Why did you pick that as the title for this film?
Yeah, it's a famous line from Ronald Reagan's speech where he said, "Freedom is always only one generation away from extinction." And that's where we are, ladies and gentlemen. We are at a point. One of my most eerie quotes that I use when I talk about this issue is from a Catholic cardinal in Chicago who's a rather mild-mannered man who has said a few years ago during the Obamacare debate, after it had passed, he said, "I expect to die in my bed. I expect my successor to die in prison. I expect his successor to die a martyr." This is in America. And you think, well, it can't happen here. It's always only one generation away, unless you're willing to fight for it. Let me tell you something. If you watch this film, here's what you'll get. Here's what you'll know. They are fighting. They are fighting. They're not backing away. They are coming at us. You may remember this case in Greece, New York, which is a small town in upstate New York. There was a Supreme Court case just a few weeks ago where the Supreme Court ruled a 5-4 decision that you could say a prayer at a public meeting. You know, almost an amazing thing you even have to have a court case on, but we won. But here's what happened. The very next day, a whole bunch of other of these liberal lawyer organizations filed suit again. They didn't stop. They didn't quit. They'd say, "Oh, we lost. Oh, we're going to go home and lick our wounds." The next day, they came out fighting. And when you look at the conservative side, how many people do you hear right now saying, "Oh, we've already lost the marriage issue. It's time to move on. We can't win." And we haven't even lost yet. And the majority of Americans still believe in marriage, and yet our side is willing to sort of fold our tent and go away. We have to understand that this is a war, and if we don't engage in this war, we will lose this war.
Our guest has been Rick Santorum. He is the CEO of Ecolite Studios, former senator from the state of Pennsylvania, former presidential candidate, talking about his new movie, Ecolite Studios, in conjunction with American Family Studios, One Generation, The Erosion of Religious Liberty, a call to arms in the culture war. Senator Santorum, thank you so much for dropping by to chat with us for a few minutes. God's best to you.
Brian. God bless.
Rick Santorum, our guest. And again, that's going to be a movie you're going to want to see. Premieres on September 1. American Family Studios. Here we are preparing a shorter version, a 60-minute version, primarily for use in churches. So we'll give you more information about that as we get closer. 888-589-8840.
At My Family